everyone, and welcome to DevOps Summit 2021. Today, we have a panel here where we will be talking about Ops to SRE journey. And we have our lead panelist, Dinesh. So over to you, Dinesh.
Thank you so much, Garima, and welcome to our panelists over here, Raji, Suresh, BMK, and Jay. We are very happy and very delighted to have you to join. For you to join us and to talk about operations to SRE. What was operations before this digital transformation, and now where we are, and how SRE and how organizations has been embracing resiliency and reliability in this new generation of digital or modern world. So may I take this opportunity to request you to introduce yourself and also to talk about your experience in this SRE journey. So over to you, Raji.
Thank you, Dinesh. I'm Raji. I've been associated with Zoho for the past 22 years. So I started my journey or my career as a software developer to director of product management today, but I do handle product development and how we take it in the market. What am I to do in this panel? The panel is about ops to SRE, but I'm not an SRE, I'm not an operation person. I will bring in the tools perspective. So we have tools from Zoho, we have tools, and there are even other tools in the market which would be required by operators or SREs. And what is that required for them to address, what tools they should use, why they should use, why is it relevant, how it will help them. Not into any specific details, but that is the perspective that I will be adding on to this panel.
Thank you so much, Raji. Especially from a product perspective, today we are moving our focus from a project to product. I think we do talk about this many aspects as well. So having a product focused mindset, and how does a role? Let's not talk about a role as an SRE, but the discipline of an SRE, the resilience engineering. How does resilience engineering become very, very vital from a product perspective? So I think it will be very interesting to get to know you. Thank you so much. BMK, over to you, BMK. Please introduce yourself and also to talk about your experience from ops to SRE.
Oh, thanks very much, Dinesh, and very delighted to be here. And I'm BMK. I'm joining from New Zealand for this session, and I'm been a developer for the last 25 years, and right now I do work as a value stream architect for one of the bank here in New Zealand. The interesting aspect of how things have changed dramatically in the last 10 years in this IT space, focusing, shifting more on web scale and customer resiliency, and infrastructures becoming more intelligent than ever in the past. I think these practices and disciplines are very critical for us. And what we have seen is that, last 10, 15 years before, if there is an outage in the system, customers, they have to live with it. But now they don't tolerate that anymore. And I think SRE, every organization has to uplift their capability in the space. So I think I would like to add that from an end user community perspective, how some of our experiences and what we look into it, and how do we deal with some of those things. So this has come from the, you could say, from the trenches. Yeah.
Thank you so much, BMK. I think value stream and value architect that you are bringing in, I think it's a very important concept from a SRE perspective to look at. Are we delivering value to our customers and having customers at the very center of our discussion? Thank you so much. Yeah. Suresh, over to you, Suresh. Please do share with us about your experience.
Thanks, everyone. My name is Suresh GP. I'm the Managing Director of Top Solutions. I'm also a Global Ambassador of the DevOps Institute. I have about 20 plus years in the industry. Started off my career in software development, Java, J2E, if you know that very well. And I've been a technical consultant for first 5 years. And the rest of the 10 years that I spent in the IT industry when I was in a corporate was primarily into infrastructure, network storage, database, managing messaging systems. Not even a single day used to go without an escalation, right? And I don't know how that days have gone away. And now I'm a practitioner, and I'm also the co-author of the SRE practitioner course of the DevOps Institute. And I help organizations worldwide in implementing SRE as a capability. So I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Thank you so much, Suresh. I think your experience, especially coming from a service management background, to talk about how is service management handled today in various organizations, and how does SRE practices comes in to modernize these service management approaches. I think it would be interesting to hear from you on that note. Over to you, Jay. Please do share with us on your experience on operations to SRE.
Thank you, Dinesh, and hello, everyone. Yeah, myself, Jesha. I am a senior consultant in the cloud security, cybersecurity, and DevSecOps space, and currently working with Ernst & Young. I started my journey with operations basically towards a networking background as a network support engineer, working in the NOCs, RF engineer sites, and how evolving of 4G and implementation and launch of for 4G to VoLTE, voice over LTE. And then I started my journey over here in US as a DevOps engineer from product as a based in mortgage industry, and then I shifted to consulting firms and working closely with customers, clients, and how they are seeing this change, how it is evolving, and basically changing their mindset from shifting left and having secure SDLC, implementation of collaboration between different teams globally, how we can broke down the traditional silos, and having those sort of mindsets is very important. So I deal with assessments, implementation, and also bringing the background not only with industries but also with academia. I've also published 5 to 6 IEEE research papers on DevOps. What is the use of DevOps, how it evolved, and now we are seeing, going into various ops like AI ops, ML ops, net DevOps, and also member of DevOps Institute. And happy to share my experience further with the entire team and the audience.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to know, especially doing a research on DevOps. DevOps by itself, it is still, evolving today. I mean, I won't say evolving today, but it is still a zone where there's a lot of experimentation goes in, and also modernizing. Even the some papers out there, they say even Jenkins is, outdated. Look at something modern, modernizing even the pipeline. But not focusing on the tools, but DevOps as a practice itself, it is still ever evolving, ever modernizing. So getting your input into that will be really, really awesome here, Jay. Thank you so much. So I remember that I just realized that I forgot to introduce myself. So I am Dinesh. I lead and I help organization adopt SRE, site reliability engineering or service reliability engineering, and also support organizations in transforming, transforming the legacy services into modernized SREs ways of working and SREs practices as well. And I also lead what we have as a SRE community of practices within our organization, and I work in one of the large financial institutes as well, based out of Malaysia. So that's about me. So first, I think the title itself, it's about like journey from ops to SRE. So let's talk about ops. What is ops, and what was ops? Or at least some organizations like BMK, you come from a financial institute as well. For some of us, operations is still a very siloed legacy kind of thing. And then we do have Raji coming from an organization like Zoho, which is more technology oriented, product oriented and stuff like and stuffs around that. So what is ops in your definition, or what was ops in your definition, and what are we supposed to be looking at? So from a SRE perspective, what should we be looking at? How should operations be looked at? What is the eyesight that we need to have, or how has our angle been shifted? Over to you, BMK.
Thanks, Dinesh. I think if we rewind back 10 years or maybe 15 years in our calendar, developers are primarily focused on creating something and developing something, and ops were responsible for running and looking after it in production, right? And most of the fun part, or maybe interesting, I always ask this question. Most of the organization, they had two wings actually. They call technology, and where developers, they sit in that house, and there's an ops unit where they look after those systems actually. How those things were always looked into two different aspects, but the way we look after the ops engineers in a typical definition, I say ops folks are really good in running production systems, but they have very minimal understanding of what exactly the systems are doing for their customers. They don't have clue about it, and they don't know how the system functions and what capabilities the system that has. But they look after from a storage, networking, a performance, CPU, memory utilization, and user experience, those kind of things. But those feedback never goes back to actually developer, in the 10-15 years before, right? Now things are like unifying and coming together. So for me, this is definitely has changed a lot. I think it's more to do with, as a customer, do I really put up with a vendor or a supplier or an organization or a service provider when the system is down or not? I think that completely the social and what we call a SMAC, like social, mobile, and analytics and cloud, things have changed totally how the customers they view in the space. So I think this is what I see. Some organizations still have that upswing, and some of have merged them together. Now Dev and Ops becoming together. But for me, what Dem and Edwards always call is actually the your architecture on paper, your code on your code repository doesn't add value. Only when it's running in production, it adds value. So operation is the actual business.
That's very interesting to know, right? Because we have always been, one of the things that happens in many organizations is that they always have this quote, developers are the king. I'm not sure how many of you heard about this, but there's something, that always comes up saying that developers are the king. And now BMK, you are giving up saying that, if the code goes to production and only when it runs in production, then it is creating value. You are absolutely right. And now you are giving a different perspective, saying that operations is where the business is. It's totally a different view on that. And I think it's absolutely right to ask Raji to comment on this, coming from a product background. So Raji, what are your thoughts on BMK's insight?
I totally agree with what BMK has been saying. So 15 years ago, or even when the two wings, right, it is more like a blame game. When something goes down, the operation blames the development blames the operation. That's how it used to be, because they work in different silos. From where it has now, things have evolved, and operations to SRE, whatever you call it, it is a subtle difference. Now it is very important for the developer or the operator or the SRE person. They have to know what is happening in the entire system, because we are now moving from, as you said in the beginning, from project mindset to a product mindset. So when you have a product, and most of it is now in the cloud, digitalization has digital transformation has been there in all the industries around us. This pandemic has only added more to it. So people have taken it to the cloud, majority of them at least. So it's all available. So people have to know how things are working. It's not that somebody says there is a problem, then you go and you pass it on, you take and then figure it out. They have to know how it is working. As BMK put it up, operations is the business. We used to say that as the developer's mindset has to undergo a change, in the sense that it is not that once you have developed, your role is done. Until it is put in the production, it is working there, up and running, it's your responsibility, which means you have to work in collaboration with the operator. You cannot just say that I finished my coding, I just checked in, it is working fine in my system. That was the case 20 years ago. I'm done, I finished, I've checked in, my role is over. That's not the case today. You have to work in collaboration, and there are tools that are helping for that. And the cloud itself has been helping us to work in collaboration and make sure that you put it out in the production. And that is the business. At the end of the day, it has to be working fine. That's how customers will come and use it. Customers are not ready to take any downtime when it is in the cloud. So when you have to put it that way, the operator, the developer, SRE, it's overall cultural mindset change that is happening in the industry, which the organizations and businesses have to adopt, so that they are also in line with the moving trends.
Thank you, Raji. I think you have brought in two interesting points for us to talk about. One is, now that we are moving our production to cloud. So what is the role of an SRE from a cloud perspective, because the availability, one of the things about SRE is that SRE have to deliver a level of availability, level of reliability, and level of resiliency. and cloud infrastructure is actually offering that. So do we need a role, or do we need a discipline of SRE? So we will talk about that. We will come to that question, because I definitely want to talk about that question. But you also concluded by saying that there is a mindset that we need to focus on. So Suresh, over to you, Suresh. I just want to talk about your experience, from the service management, with the service management background for the last 20 years, and also being a thought leader, and also got awards in the last few years as well. What are your opinions, especially from a mindset perspective? How should a mindset be, especially moving towards this digital cloud mindset? Cloud operations or cloud SRE.
So thanks, Dinesh. The first thing is, I always want to start about a term called shared pain, shared gain. See, gone are the days that we thought that the developer used to work 9 to 5 and the ops guy, good luck with you, 24/7, round the clock. I think the point that Gene Kim always says that when you woke up the developer at 2 o'clock in the night, the code was trouble-free, right? I mean, there's a whole point is that we have to understand that we cannot run the show alone. We have to do it together, right? A familiar example of Samsung Galaxy Note issue, the battery got burnt. Now, who do you blame? Would you blame the developer, the tester, the hardware engineer? Who cares? I mean, at the end of the day, the customer wants to blame it on Samsung. So I think the whole notion of having a common denominator has been the fundamental problem. We never had a common metric across the value chain. We have measured defects by lines of code, velocity, and this guy's response time, resolution time. Nobody talks the same language, right? So that's the fundamental problem. Your culture change will only happen when your metrics are also aligned properly. Right? There has to be a skin in the game. That's number one. Yeah. Number two, I always believe that service management has been my bread and butter for a long period of time. So I'm a little biased towards ops and infrastructure people, right? We tell that the value gets realized only in service operations, right? When the rubber hits the road, right? That's where we do. And if you look at this term called fit for purpose and fit for use. So fit for purpose is basically your features, functionality, rolling up new things every 2 to 4 weeks. Great. But fit for use is one of the most important prerogative today, because one of the people that I think is that everybody loves development, but nobody wants to take it towards the ops because they say that they're just keeping the lights on part of it. But that change is changing. So for us to do the cultural shift, I think we need to have a sense of mutual respect, and I think that is finally getting into the ops guys. I've seen people ops guys cry because they are not getting that level of recognition. Even the increments are not high. My pay packets are not high. So probably that is also need to be demonstrated, because I think there is no way a deviation between a developer or an ops. They are one together on a single unified purpose to achieve the user experience. If you bring everybody onto the same level with the same level of salaries, packages, and mutual respect, then only I think these things will change. And more importantly, common metrics.
Thank you, Suresh. I think common metrics, common, shared ownership. You spoke about few of the things. I've noted them down, to talk about it, a bit later. Jay, coming to you, you have been doing some research on DevOps, and also you have released some, publications. You have published some research articles on DevOps and the future of DevOps. So, wanted to ask your opinion based on your research. What is SRE, or what is the role of SRE in the future of DevOps or DevSecOps?
Yep. Thank you, Dinesh. Yeah, that's a good thing. So we all know, right? Coming from operations and breaking, the midnight maintenance or weekend maintenance and 24 hours. All the teams are making sure that the systems are up and working. And these days, the major thing is the downtime. Only I think a couple of weeks back, WhatsApp and Instagram was down for a minute, and there was like million of loss, not only through their own application, but also to the customers, right? Now, there have been the UI UX changes, new features are coming up every day, and that's where I see that going from ops to DevOps is very much essential. It's not just going through like using the different tools, right? There are like thousands of tools people are working. Monitoring tools are there, Datadog, Splunk, and there are open source tools also coming up, right? Switching away VM machines, Vagrant, checking code through your source system, or having CI/CD pipelines in middle. But the main also key things over here is like when I see next is also the security consideration, right? The Colonial pipeline burst in the recent months, or the attacks are happening. So like though the new features are coming up, we also somehow are lagging behind in security. That's what I feel like in the next coming from ops to SRE, there should be secure SDLC in phase. And talking about my papers is right, when I started my DevOps journey, I was came from a network background, right? How the switches, routers, or the traditional Nexus 7000 switches and routers are working, and making sure that all the infrastructure is up and running, be it in traditional data center space, or in going to the VPC or VNets in the cloud. But now when we want to come to DevOps, how we can shift our mindset, because DevOps also is the similar space, but it's going through a different change in terms of thinking abilities, between the collaboration between different teams, developers, operations, server team, infrastructure team, monitoring team, and how we all as a team come together and make sure not only our system, but the entire company's infrastructure is always up and running. So that's why some of my papers are talking about this change, and like basically that's why I published in IEEE. I also published somehow in magazines and white sources. So like coming from an academic background and researcher, like the person who wants to start their journey in DevOps and SRE, they not going directly to the tools and learning all the new technologies coming up, the top 5 cloud models, or cloud service providers, but also thinking that why there is a need for SRE, and why companies and teams should start investing in SRE.
Thank you, Jay. I think you spoke about how important security is, especially now that we are moving to cloud and cloud SREs and things around that. So how has tooling changed? Maybe Raji, from a product perspective, I think Zoho is one of the organization who's heavily using cloud. Your products are cloud based, or SaaS is one of your offerings to many of the customers. So from moving to cloud, how has it supported your customers, and how important, or what are, I think Suresh also spoke about some metrics or common metrics. So one of the common metric I think which is very important is to understand user experience. So how is SRE supporting user experience, especially for applications which is running from cloud?
Okay. Yeah, so as you rightly said, at Zoho, from the early stages when cloud started picking up in 2005 timeframe, from then on we have been having products in the cloud. So we just wanted to grab that opportunity, and we started shifting or doing products for the that could be useful in the cloud. We do have many different products. So coming to your question of how do we take care of what does the SRE do to take care of the user experience part that Suresh addressed to. First of all, before even going to that part, when you have a cloud application, when you have your systems hosted as a SaaS model, it could be in your data center, or you could host it in any other providers and just focus only on your application, whatever be it. But your application, when it is in the cloud, it's important that you have to take care of three metrics. Those are the common metrics that I would say. 3 things that are important. One is availability. Systems have to be up and running all the time. By systems, I mean it could be your application, it could be your the platform components that you have, the databases, the microservice containers, or if you are hosting it on your own infrastructure, your infrastructure components. All of them have to be up and running. No compromise on that. Industry cannot accept any downtime. That's how the industry standards are today. availability of 99.999%, 5 nines. That's what the industry is expecting today. That's a common metric that you have to ensure. And the second metric is performance. By performance, I mean your response time. How quickly is your application able to respond? Industry standards again expect just 2 seconds, because in this fast moving internet world, none of us have the time or patience to sit through pages or applications that are going to take forever to load. We just move on, and that's how it is happening. So there's no point in having your applications up and running if they are going to be performing very, very slow. So performance is important. And the third important metric is security. I think Jay also covered that, touched upon that. Being in the cloud, making sure that your users' data is secure. You have made sure that you have not, one user's data is segregated from the other user's data. There are a lot of things to take care when you talk about security, and that is again across all the layers, be it in your application or in your, say, firewall. There is a one small hole in your firewall, hackers will enter your system. So that is how complex it is. So security is important. So these three are the common metrics that people have to take care when you have a cloud application. And to take care of this, SREs make use of tools. So that's one of the ways that the tools are some things that help SREs. We have our in-house tools, which our own SRE team make use of, and we also bundle that as a product to customers.
Sure. Thank you, Raji.
I think I addressed your question. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you spoke about availability, performance, response time, and security as well. I think security has always been an afterthought, and and then you brought security as one of the critical metric. So I just want to open up the time to BMK. What are your thoughts on these metrics that Raji just spoke about? Is there any other metric that you feel it is missing, or what are your thoughts on this, BMK?
I think the one interesting point that I observed is about availability, what Raji talked about. Now, man, I do agree with most of the points, but interestingly, from a developer and architecture perspective, when I remember Netflix back in 2011. In the month of April, they had an outage because they were running on AWS for a long time, right? And they had an outage in US East, if I remember correctly. And the Netflix wrote actually a blog post about how to design system for failures, because it's impossible to design a system 100% available all the time, and that too, especially when you're relying on public internet services and your cloud providers, etc. So it is not just about it's not about refining and fine-tuning and working towards 100% availability, but designing your system which can gracefully accept those kind of availability failures, but still can cater to your customers. I always take an example from a banking perspective. If you go to an ATM, if you withdraw money, when you can't print the receipt, you can still withdraw the money, no problem. Right. So the purpose of designing this microservices to give those kind of the fault tolerant capability and self-healing capability for some of your components. So by the way, they can come by themselves, and the systems are they're expected. And even your customer don't ask for 100% availability, because they expect when they use the system, that time that system should be available. That's all. That doesn't mean that they expect 100% availability. So that's my different take on that. So cloud and your high scale applications, web applications, has pushed this to a greater extent. So that's my view on it.
Absolutely. Yeah, Garima, sorry.
Yeah, right. I want to jump into this conversation because I think it's the right time, and I would bring a very different perspective, and the perspective is sustainability. And when you talk about sustainability, it's a question on the board for I think almost every board right now. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is with cloud technologies, resources are in abundance. So from a product management perspective, what the question at hand for product managers, strategic portfolio managers, is how to balance value creation and value realization. And that's what I would like to see more and more with value stream management becoming mainstream. And that is where I think a lot of evolution will start, from where these boundaries will blur, from an SRE perspective, how we are kind of delivering these practices and developing them, and the DevOps side of the story, where speed, flow, and feedback is becoming very prominent. And I think we have more focus on the second and third way in the upcoming years.
Thank you, Garima. Thanks for your input on that. I think one of the point I think that was missing to me, based on the metric that Raji and BMK was sharing. I think it's more from a user experience perspective. We spoke about availability, we spoke about performance or response time, security. I think they are definitely they are very important factor from a how to say, from a metric perspective. So I just want to hear from Suresh. What are your thoughts on what kind of metrics should we be thinking about? Because user experience is something very complex, because every individual's experience is very different. So from SRE perspective, how can we go about delivering this, Suresh?
So one of the things I think we have been a proponent of moving away from watermelon syndrome, right? All the SLAs look green outside, but it's bleeding red when I open it up, to building in something called a kiwi, right? The kiwi looks green outside as well as inside. Part of the problem has always been that we talk about customer satisfaction, which is more of a transaction, rather than talking about customer experience. So today, in a digitally converged world of omni-channel, I can still have one user contacting through a chatbot, through a email, to a fax, but it should have still what we call as not system of record, not system of engagement, but system of innovation. So that's the level in which we are actually proceeding. So what happens is that when we talk about as an SRE, we are moving away from one of the key concepts of monitoring, be it your app and infra, towards a term called observability. And that observability, in a pure plain layman term, is talking about a 360-degree view. It's not just about your metrics and measurement that you're going to do. Remember, monitoring is a myth that you cannot monitor everything. And there is a lot of things that will go part of it to work. But the real point is that you go there into that informal conversations to understand what the perception is. So what we have to do is also have to track data called, we have something called as XLA, experience level agreement, where we have a data of O data and X data. O data is objective data, the first call resolution, turnaround time, response time, that is easy build. But also what we call as XI data, experience level indicator. How much time did it take for it to come back again, right? And how much time did I spend on getting a call hooked up to the service desk? So all of those stuff has to be tracked. And in fact, it's clearly metrics that we say that 50% of the incidents do not get logged into the incident management because they don't want to call up the service desk, but they are getting registered through a chatbot. So there are multiple ways that we can start tracking footprints that will help us to get a consolidated overview through an observability part of it. And that will get us a much more deeper insight to get wisdom. Right? Wisdom doesn't come automatically. You need to get the deeper insight, and observability and telemetry will help on that.
Thank you, Suresh. I mean, hearing all this, right? I mean, we can evidently see that SRE is still evolving, and SRE is adopted across the organization, to the complete breadth of the organization, from the development community to the operations service desk that Suresh was bringing about, and Jay was talking about, even from the network, from the database, from the security, and so on. So SRE as a concept is being involved, in the breadth of the organization. So Garima, maybe just to what are your thoughts on how to use communities today, to support the upskilling and development and grassroots movement of SRE within the organization? What are your thoughts on this?
So I would like to answer this question that we are bringing human in the loop. When you talk about communities, what's happening is that we see two big patterns building up. So, when we talk about shift left story, we are seeing that the SRE communities are getting more serious about observability. And I do believe that this is one space where communities will contribute in 2022 and beyond. The other aspect is chaos engineering. I also believe that chaos engineering space will become mainstream, and these communities, HSRE communities, will lead this practice in many organizations. So these are the two big, I would say, themes. Now there are smaller themes, how DevOps and SRE communities will come together, and that is where I think a lot of evolution will happen, and we will see that value stream management will be benefited out of these communities coming together. So that's also is one of the possibilities, at least what I see in 2022.
Great.
One thing
And
that I would-
yeah, sorry, go ahead, Suresh.
So one thing that I would just add on is gamification part of it. So while Garima was talking about value stream mapping, I was thinking about it. I had just an SRE practitioner course, and we had people from different regions coming over, and we had to have fun, right? Because all work and no play makes John a dull boy. So we actually implemented through a simulation game of a DTX transformation, where when they started playing this whole thing, you put theory into actual practice. And I think as an SRE, when you talk about chaos engineering and game days, one of the principles that we need to bring in is having fun in the whole journey, right? Staying late and other stuff, we still have a lot of fun. So not taking it too much serious towards aspect of just reliability and resilience, making things a lot more fun, that everybody is trying to play a role in making this an eventful learning experience is so important, because it's a more of a cultural change. Everybody will have to look at reliability as a first point of contention, and then this whole journey will evolve, right? So on that question, one thing back to you, Dinesh. As an organization, you have been doing it. We have been talking a lot about SRE by design. Now, based on your experience, what does that SRE by design look like? Because like what we have security by design, we have everything by design. So what does SRE by design mean in a plain layman term that you think?
I was thinking that I am the moderator and I have to be throwing questions to you. Now it's coming back to me and I am put on the spot. But yeah, SRE by design, I think, we do talk about security by design or monitoring by design. I think this is a space that is still, that it is still evolving. For me personally, we are definitely investigating, not investigating, but investing time and effort to look at how do we bring in resiliency, right from the design aspect, especially now that like what Raji was talking about, services are moving to cloud. Many organizations, we are trying to adopt to cloud. So moving to cloud is definitely becoming a primary factor for majority of our organization, and bringing in not only SRE as a role, but SRE as a discipline, reliability engineering or resilience engineering as a discipline into the architect process, into the thought process, and like what Garima was talking about, resiliency engineering, chaos engineering experimentation. This is also something that we are doing. We are currently working on. Right now, in fact, we just started executing POCs on chaos engineering, and also ensuring mandatory resiliency requirements are being met even at the design stage, before it goes to the pre-production or the production stage of the environment as well. For me personally, it is a work in progress right now. I can't give you very evidently, what exactly are we doing right now, but it's a work in progress. But it's a space for us to watch out and for us to develop. Jay, over to you. I think you had a comment on that.
No, you rightly said, Dinesh. Yeah, just to add like a couple of points with Dinesh. Yeah, so having the reliability is we need to have reliability, right? The system should be up 24/7, 365 days. The site or the system should be working well. And at the same time, we need to have the engineering team like together in the entire process, like having the complex infrastructure in place, right? So that no one can go deep dive and see where we are lagging or where the gaps are, so that we can avoid the later part of the things, right? When the system is into production and the bugs are resolved soon, or there are like less bugs in the sprint cycle. So having complex infrastructure using the advanced technologies and the architectures we are having, like implementing microservices, Prometheus, Kubernetes, and having many new features adding like day by day. So in that way, we are building the new tools, and the more or less from coming from data center into the cloud infrastructure is really important. And And last thing is like, though we are into cloud, we also need to see that cloud is secured, but that's not the case. We need to have security in space. We have key management services, key vaults, and using all those security tools, and also our DevOps cycle kind of thing, which we called, should also be secured. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Like having a complex infrastructure and having that sort of engagement, not only the SRE team should also be engaged with the production team, but also have a point of contact with the operations, and also point of contact with developers, as well as facing the customers, basically.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you. I think we have already run over the time, but let's just wrap it up. I know we have discussed quite a bit in terms of how operations was and the future of operations. We even spoke about no operations as well. Get both the SRE and the developers together, and having a single structure or single communities and stuff around that. We spoke about how moving to cloud and the challenges around it. Security, resiliency on it, and we spoke about that as well. So in conclusion, I just want to get 30 seconds from all of you here in the call. What do you see as the future of SRE in 2022, now that we are moving into progressing to 2022, and also in the next few years? Because I think SRE is definitely creating momentum worldwide, across majority of the organizations, the Fortune 100, 500 organizations, majority of them are adopting SREs. So what do you see as the future of SRE, or how is SRE going to evolve? Not only that, but how is SRE going to deliver success to the organizations by adopting SREs? What is your suggestion to the CXOs of the organization? So we'll start with you, Raji.
Thank you, Dinesh. So the one important thing is, I mean, we can say tools and all. It's basically about you write some scripts, bring in automation. So that is something that is important that I wanted to add when you talked about SRE by design. So because that's what will help, and AI will help in this. So futuristically, I see a lot of tools to make use of AI ops so that it can do a lot of automation and bring in some predictive analysis so that SREs can prevent problems from happening rather than being reactive, can take proactive measures. So that is something, the AI ops and more automation is something that I see will help SREs in the future.
Thank you, Raji. Suresh, over to you, Suresh.
So SREs are going to be people who would not run systems anymore, right? So the systems must be self-running. That's the whole goal. So we have to make sure that systems work for us. We don't work for systems. So that is the state in which everyone will evolve. So right from instrumentation, observability, making and everything much more nimble is so important. So everybody will have to work to that end goal, and not to forget, we all exist because we need to deliver value to user and customers. And as long as you have that as the most important point, I think we'll stay relevant and we'll not get outsourced.
Sure, Suresh. So BMK, developers were the king. So are SREs the new kings now? What are your thoughts on it?
I think probably back in India, we have a statement like, you have a Basha, and then you have the emperor and then the king, right? Is it right, Suresh? Okay, the 30 seconds. I do have one piece of advice as well here. Please do not rename your system admins into SRE, because the SRE needs actually a new analytical mindset and skills and automation experience. And that's the thing, right? And the future is looking really bright, and the scale of operations is really looking good. And because the lot of tools and a lot of scriptings, a lot of languages, a lot of tools for supporting those infrastructure components have grown like a lot, not like 10-15 years. So definitely the SRE future is looking bright. And if you say that SRE are the new kings, yeah, I would not disagree with that. Yes, they are the new kings now.
Thank you, BMK. Jay, what does your research show us? What is the future of SRE? And especially, you spoke about DevOps, .NET Ops, AI Ops. I think we have not discussed on this, Garima. I think 30 minutes is definitely not enough. We have a great experts over here in the call, and there is so much for us to talk about. NetOps and etc. So, Jay, over to you. What are your thoughts on that in modern DevOps, NetOps that you brought in? How is SRE going to support? What is the future of SRE in this?
So three things I think is really important. One is cultural change, innovation, collaboration. That needs to happen, be it in various teams you are in. Second is security and automation. That is a requirement right now. Though we are using the scripting tools, automation, we also need to think as like a security mindset. And third thing is having a crisis management team, incident management response team. Like whenever your attacks happen or system is down, we need to have an entire force of, like a war team kind of thing, so that our product is up and running. And with that implementation of net DevOps, like how DevOps can be implemented in networking, how DevOps can be implemented in security, and going into the XOps kind of thing. So yes, these are a couple of things I think is really important in next couple of years.
Thank you so much, Jay. One last question to BMK before we conclude this. Sorry, Garima, for taking an extra 30 seconds. One final question, BMK. For organizations or leaders within the organization who says that, you know what, SRE is just another buzzword. I don't really need SRE. I'm happy with what I am. I'm happy with where I am today. What will your response be to these leaders, BMK?
Then you're missing a point. You're missing a point of serving your customer at your best, missing a point of delivering the value to your customer at your best. I think if you are not taking DevOps and SRE seriously, and probably that shows how much you value your customers. That's my blunt way of saying it.
Okay, thank you so much. That's a very, very truthful, and I agree with you. Very truthful, but a very strong statement. And with that, viewers, thank you so much for joining us today and listening to our experts here in the call. And we look forward to meeting you, talking to you, discussing with you on another topic, or even the same in SRE topic, but on the other continuation. Thank you so much for your time today. Garima, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this powerful conversation. This conversation should continue, and it will continue beyond DevOps Summit 2021. So we encourage all of you to participate and build this perspective further. And thank you all for joining us today. And thank you for our panelists. Thank you.
Thank you.